Alright guys, welcome back. I am the Irish Kaiser, and today, as promised, is the second installment in our Risk of Rain character guides. Today we'll be going over the Engineer, one of the, we'll say, most unique installments in the character selection menu. Now, his primary fire is bouncing grenades. You charge up to 8 grenades that deal 100% damage each. It has a semi-decent burst damage, relatively inaccurate short range. The grenades do have an AoE. It is extremely small, and they do not detonate on contact with the ground. They'll detonate on a timer. They bounce a few times, and if you fire them in the air at the correct range, you can use them as airburst grenades, but it is not based on proximity. If you miss a target just by a small amount, they will not detonate or anything of the sort. They are dumb fire grenades for the most part. Pressure mines, these charge up in, I believe, 2 or 3 seconds a piece, and you can hold up to 10. And you can put it down, and it deals 300% damage when an enemy walks over it. I believe they can stun smaller enemies, not like your traditional statistical stun, but they will sit still for a split second after being hit with one of these things. Your utility ability is the Bubble Shield, which is extremely good and extremely bad depending on the situation and how you use it. You put down a rather sizable, impenetrable shield that blocks all incoming damage. It is slightly tossable, so you can throw it a short distance if necessary. And it is reasonably large, as I've stated. And it is completely impervious to damage. Enemies can still pass through it, which can be quite a significant problem, but it can be accounted for just with smart placement and the usage of your other abilities. Now, the main ability for this class is the TR-12 Gauss Auto Turret. This is your standard sentry gun. It doesn't allow you to upgrade it or anything like it's maybe in Overwatch or Team Fortress 2. You might be familiar with the sentry guns in those games. They do have levels, and you can upgrade them. These, when you place them down, they are fully upgraded and everything. They are a little iffy in terms of the AI associated with them. Sometimes they will not target things that come into range, or it's just a little bit of tweaking is needed, but it's not that egregious to the point where the class is unworkable, because this turret is your main source of damage. The grenades are not very effective for dealing with most targets. The turrets are where most of your firepower is going to come from, and you can put 2 down at once. And the most interesting thing about this turret is that it inherits all your items. So, this means, say you have the Soldier Syringe. This will also fire 15% faster, in addition to it applying to you. The best item I have found for turrets in general has been Bustling Fungus, because Bustling Fungus does not require an out-of-combat modifier to be active for the healing to kick in. It's simply, you must be stationary, and because these things are always stationary, the, whatever it is, 2 or 3 seconds after you place this down, it will have count as being stationary for 2 to 3 seconds, and it will begin healing at a highly accelerated rate. So I would recommend, if you have the chance to grab one, grab that. But speaking of items, we actually just got, what did we get? Oh, we didn't get anything. It's saying we got something. Oh, the Sentient Meat Hook. Yes, very good. But in terms of items, I'll just run through what I have here really quick. Soldier Syringe, always good, especially good on this class just because it also applies to the turrets, which is quite useful. Same thing with Tougher Times. Tougher Times is always fantastic, absolutely. Always useful on every class. The more of these you have, the better off you're going to be. Monster Tooth, I would not recommend. The only only 2 classes maybe I would really recommend Monster Tooth as an okay item would probably be Multi and the Mercenary, just because their relative short range allows them to be in proximity to enemies to pick up the dropped healing orbs from this item. Lensmaker's Glasses, always good on every class. Paul's Goat Hoof, always good on every class. Now the Bustling Fungus is probably the best healing item in terms of the turrets. I would definitely recommend picking this up just to increase the survivability of your turrets. It's extremely useful. They do have a base healing rate, but it is excruciatingly slow, and it will take quite a while for the turrets to get back into good working order, or rather get back up to full health if they have been heavily damaged in a fight, and they won't have much sustain, and in especially higher level areas they do tend to die quite quickly without any kind of, say, damage mitigation or high healing rates. Crowbar, I wouldn't recommend. This class doesn't have high burst damage, high single attack damage like the Artificer that we went over last time. Crowbar is not very good. Tri-tip Dagger is alright. It does stack with the turrets, so it will be it's just flat more damage. Picking up 1 or 2 isn't going to hurt, but I wouldn't place it high. I wouldn't place it over, say, the Bustling Fungus, the Goat Hoof, the Critical Goggles, Tougher Times, Soldier Syringe, or anything of that sort. Those kind of items that really make a difference. War Banner, always inconsistent, can always be good. The Cautious Slug, it's good for your character, it's not good for the turrets. The turrets will get targeted quite quickly, and they cannot dodge, so any kind of ranged enemy will be able to target them and will cancel this healing rate. The Personal Shield Generator, very good, very, very good for this class. It does also apply, as with every other item, to your turrets, so they will also get the 25 health shield, which will recharge quite rapidly. It's just a tiny little sliver of kind of sustainability. Medkit, very good, always good. Gasoline, decent. Does give the turrets a little bit more crowd control because they are single fire with no AoE attack damage on their lasers. Sun Grenade, I mean, if you have 2 turrets firing at the same target, this could proc relatively easily, but other than that scenario, your primary fire doesn't fire fast enough and a single turret doesn't fire at the same target fast enough for this to really be worth it. Bundle of Fireworks, I can't recommend that ever to anyone. Energy Drink, always decent. Backup Magazine is actually quite useless on this class. I wouldn't recommend it because even though it will give you extra mines, in my experience, you cannot place down extra mines. You can still only have 10 out, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, you can still spam 11 mines as like an AoE kind of burst into a boss, let's say, but other than that, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose, and there are much better items in the common tier than this. Sticky Bomb, extra damage, not terrible. Rusted Key, I can never recommend this either. I've never been able to find the hidden cache, but if you know where these spawn, then I'm sure it would be well worthwhile. Armor Piercing Rounds, always good. ATG missiles can be quite good so long as you have both your turrets firing concurrently. They will be proccing missiles quite rapidly. Will-o'-the-Wisp is decent. This class has a relatively high rate of fire, but there are better on-kill effects, such as on-hit effects. This is we'll get to the Bandolier. That's quite important for this class. The Hapu Feather, always good for extra mobility. This class doesn't have any mobility abilities either, just the same as the Artificer. It has no dodge roll or anything of the sort, so this is highly recommended if you're not going to get one of the superior items. Ukulele, quite good, always good. It doesn't seem like the model is loading in here. That's quite unfortunate. Ukulele is very, very good though. Leeching Seed is another very, very useful healing item for your turrets. Not for you, as you can only charge and fire up to 8 grenades, and there is a relatively long charge up time before you can shoot out the 8 grenades. So this, while not useful to your character so much, is quite useful in keeping your turrets alive just an extra bit longer. Red Whip, always good. Always good. A little bit of extra speed for free. Old War Stealth Kit is decent. It's not as good as it is on the Artificer, because this class does have the shield to prevent super high damage attacks, so long as you use it at the right time. Fuel Cell is good on this class. This class can really benefit from a high number of activations for use items per round, so this is quite good. Same thing with Infusion. This class has a decent level of health, but Infusion does beef it up quite a bit more. Now, we get on to one of, if not the best item available for the Engineer, and that is Bandolier. There is an 18% base plus 10% on stack chance on kill to drop an ammo pack that resets all cooldowns. Now, this is the God Killer. This is what lets you survive everything indefinitely. Because of the fact that your bubble shield has a cooldown timer of 25 seconds with an uptime of 15 seconds, you will have 10 seconds, or rather 40% of the time, you will be down without your shield, and your shield is your sole survivability ability. This allows your turrets and you, so long as you're killing the small enemies in addition to damaging the boss, you can pick one of these ammo packs up and you will get your shield back immediately. Instantly. And this is not a very rare item. I wouldn't say consistently just because of the RNG of the drop system, but this is fairly common. It's not a red, so this is quite useful, and I would highly, highly recommend getting 2 or 3 of these if at all possible, just to proc this ability more often. Highly, highly recommend. And it'll also give you back one of your turrets and a mine every single time you pick up an ammo pack. So if one of your turrets get destroyed, just grab an ammo pack and you got your turret back. It's very useful. Rose Buckler is decent. It's not that insanely useful, but this class also cannot fire, while sprinting, so it's not ideal. Chrono Bauble is fine. It's alright for your turrets, but your turrets have aimbot. They are automatically hit scan hitting things from so long as they're within range, so it's not necessary for them to be effective. Frost Relic, it's not too much of a fan. Headset, again, as I said in the last video, this is a significant amount of damage, but it is, in my opinion, more effective when just using it as a jump boost, where you can jump extremely high and just confuse the targeting AI of the enemies. Sentient Meat Hook, I actually got this in my warm-up game for this video. It is extremely good for, I would imagine it would be better for the Artificer, because it drags enemies into clumps. It clumps them up, and it makes them kind of susceptible to AoE attacks. And the only AoE attack that this class has is its grenades, which, while they do alright burst damage, are relatively difficult to hit. And I mean, I just feel it would be better served on the Artificer with the charged nano bombs and their insane damage output. Hardlight Afterburner. Now, I am not entirely sure how this would apply to the Engineer. I've never gotten it to him, but it says your utility skill, and your utility skill is under shift. So if that is true, this could be the single greatest item, the single greatest boon for the Engineer class, full stop. Gives you an extra 2 plus 2 per additional stack charges of your utility ability, which in this case would be your bubble shield. Having 3 bubble shields effectively enables you to have an infinite shield loop, And in addition to this, it reduces the skill cooldown by 33%. I have never gotten this on the engineer class. I feel like this would be the perfect item. The perfect item for survivability. Especially, it would just allow you to gank bosses, especially playing with a team. You could have 2 shields alternating in areas. You could set your turrets up. You could have a shield covering your turrets as well as a shield covering your friends. And you can kind of renew those at will. And you can cause the boss to split focus. And this would be just absolutely insane. I really do wish I could acquire this just so I could test what is actually increased. It says utility ability, and in the case of the engineer, that would be, in fact, the bubble shield. So we shall see. If I ever get that, if I get that in that video, in this video, we shall see. Titanic Neural, always good. Nice base health boost, as well as regeneration boost. Striped Glass, would not recommend. Increased base damage is nice, but this class does no damage to begin with. Your turrets might benefit from this, but they already die so quickly at high levels that I can't really recommend that. Battle Crown, this just 30% chance on hit to gain 3 gold, plus 3 per stack, and you lose gold equal to the amount you are hit for, or lose a percentage of gold equal to the percentage maximum health you lost, the greater of 2. Well, quite interesting. This could be good if you're not taking any damage at all, but I don't think it would be very good if you're taking any damage at all. It doesn't sound like that. Transcendence, always good. It kind of negates the usage of healing, but it allows you to burst heal all those shields whenever necessary. So this could be quite useful on the engineer, depending on how much you've invested in self-healing. Effigy of Grief is the new thing we picked up last time, where you just drop this, and when you hit Q to activate this, it actually removes the item from your inventory, and you have to go back in and pick it up if you want to move it, which is an interesting little tidbit. But it has no time limit, which is quite interesting, and it slows the enemies and your character and your teammates by 50% and reduces the armor value associated with them by 20. This can be good. The radius is quite small. I will warn you. I tried to use this on the large imp at the end of my last video, and due to the nature of that boss and the fact that it can teleport, this was not effective in keeping it in one place and allowing me to kind of stack damage on it. But I feel like slow moving bosses such as the Stone Titan, this could just allow you to shred it with relative ease. Disposable missile launcher, always good. Foreign Fruit is quite good due to the kind of difficulty to heal yourself with this class. You can't be doing damage unless you're quite close with your grenade launcher, so this can be kind of just a get out of jail free card. Primordial Cube, not recommended. You don't have a lot of AoE attacks besides your primary fire, and that doesn't do enough damage to merit using your use item slot for that. Ocular heads up display could be useful. I mean, it's always good on all your characters. Double damage for 8 seconds is always good. Milky Chrysalis is quite good for helping you dodge. You can fly for 15 seconds and gain 20% movement speed for the duration. This is always useful, just nice mobility enhancement. Crowdfunder, I've had it on, the only class I've actually used it on was the engineer, and it was quite good because I got it later in the game. I exchanged a rocket launcher for it, and it gives you, as I stated in the previous video, it gives you a hit scan attack with ramping damage, and later in the game getting coins is not even remotely close to being a problem, and this does crank out some decently high consistent damage per second. So it is decent. It is quite decent. And those are all the items I have, so we will jump into the obligatory single player game. As the engineer, we'll play on good old-fashioned Rainstorm. One day I'll be good enough to play on Monsoon, but today is not that day. I do apologize for that. Alright. I do love the sprinting animation. Little hover jets. I thought that was quite funny when I first unlocked this character. Speaking of unlocking this character, it is very simple. All you have to do is complete 30 stages. Not in any particular order, not in any particular grouping. All you have to do is complete 30 stages. And this 3D printer is gasoline. Not the kind of thing we're going to need right off the bat here. As you can see, the grenades, they detonate so long as they hit something, and they do decent burst damage. These wisps are extremely hard to hit if you don't have any practice. They're very not fun to fight against. As you can see, I'm missing like crazy. And unluckily for us, we're getting swarmed here. But we are getting a decent amount of coin, so can't really complain. There we go. So let's find this teleporter. I have recently come across a trick for spotting the teleporter at a distance from a height. Oh, we got Chrono Bobble. Kind of useless. Kind of useless, considering our main type of damage has aimbot. But the game will do this periodically to you. It'll spawn like 800 of these things, and they'll just shred you to pieces. And it's just not a good time. I'm just going to throw down a turret there, see how quickly it takes care of them. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We're going to go with random here, see if we can't get something good. Oh, and we get the rusted key, of course. Never go random, folks. If you don't see something you like in one of those, skip it. It's almost not worth it. Alright, so we'll run up here. We still haven't found the teleporter. Quite unfortunate, but this map is quite small and quite open, so it is relatively easy to find the teleporter. It's not like the oh, there it is. Speak of the devil. The current hardest map, in my opinion, to find the teleporter on is the swampland map. I forget what it's called, but the devs pointed out, due to the massive amount of complaining about finding the teleporter, that there are these glowing particle effects. As we take a nice blast from the face from the golem. You can just run circles around these things. They're extremely slow. Throw a mine down there. The mines don't actually do that much damage, which is quite upsetting because of the fact that, I mean, you can fire them off quite rapidly, but they're not like a super move. They're not like, I mean, if you detonate all of them at once, you will get quite a large set of numbers, but you get more burst damage out of a fully charged grenade salvo than out of your mines, which is unfortunate. Now, the soldier syringe is quite nice for your primary fire, just due to the fact that there is such a long charge up time. But I mean, as long as you get these wisps at close range, sorry for the tangent, as long as you get the wisps at close range, you can hit them relatively consistently. And as I said, Chrono Bobble is good for your character, not for your turrets. They're kind of entirely useless for your turrets. But it can help freeze enemies in place while you spam them down. But I would not recommend using the grenades other than to carpet bomb at any greater distance than this. They're not accurate, as they actually fire out on two different planes as far as I can tell. They have a wide angle of impact, large size chest here. I rarely get these anymore. Oh! Oh, and we got Brilliant Behemoth, which is additional explosive damage on every single attack, as well as I believe we're just getting an increased explosion radius. And now the first point of impact, it's seeming that we are getting explosions. As you can see, that is probably the best primary fire option. As you can see, it greatly increases our damage output. So now that I have that unlocked, that's going to have to be one of the most highly recommended items for this class in particular. Although this is good for every class, I will say. It's a flat damage increase with no range fall off, and even for classes that have high rates of fire, it is extremely useful. And this class, with its already it's kind of scuffy DPS, this is quite nice. This definitely helps quite significantly. And it's very rare to find red items. I have only found about maybe 6 in the 18-ish hours I've played this game. But I can't complain. But in order to find the teleporter easier, these particles, these glowing red particles, they seem to, well, they are, according to the developers, solely, we're gonna put a turret here, just outside the area of attack. And what I found is if you put your your turrets higher up, then the bosses will be less likely to target them, as far as I've seen. If you don't stand next to them as well, that tends to help draw attention. And we will start firing. We'll just dump all our mines. You can hold down the button for mines. They do good burst damage, but this is quite early in the game. Everything does decent damage at this point. Nothing really all that impressive. But Brilliant Behemoth is making this a cakewalk, which is quite interesting. As the golem misses. But yes, I would have to say that this is one of, if not the best reds. I wouldn't, well, maybe not the best, but, oh, this is the boss item. And we get a guard beetle with us constantly. No numbers. Very basic description. I mean, it's doing exactly what it told you to. Quite interesting. Well, now we're a Pokemon trainer, apparently. This is quite good item, quite good item drops, I must say. We're getting rather lucky. We're getting boss drops, reds in the first level, and this is nearly done. Let's see how much damage this does. Woo! Absolutely obscene. So, well, now I can't demonstrate the shortcomings of this class, but I'm not going to complain because this is going to make me sound absolutely fantastic. As we sploop right out of here. And now we're on to Wetland Aspect. This is the swamp level that I hear people constantly having trouble with. I have had significant trouble finding the... Oh god, we have to take this down. These things are the bane of every run, especially at higher difficulty levels. If one of those as a fire elite hits you once and it's like 500 damage, it's obscene. I'm not a fan. So we take those out. I cannot see any particles, but if we can manage to get up a little higher, we might just spot something of value. Oh, there it is. Bustling fungus. We have one of our high priority items now. Now, I have done a little bit of, I wouldn't call it testing, but I have looked into the, how bustling fungus tends to function, and it doesn't seem like the turrets provide the healing radius, at the moment at least, that it would, should it have been attached to a player character, which is a little bit unfortunate, but not the worst thing in the world. It's not the end of days. I just think that would have been an extremely good facet of this item if you could not only use it as healing for your turrets, but also use your turrets in turn as healing strong points for your character. It would force you to stand next to your turrets, which is kind of a death sentence, because now that area has double target priority, just due to proximity and everything else. Alright, let's see if we can't spot it from up here. This is making this run an absolute cakewalk, I have to say. I do like the game mechanic, the randomness of the level of items that you can acquire. And there's the teleporter right over there, as you can see. Those particles, you can see them at quite a significant range. That's probably the farthest I've been able to use them to spot, but it is over there in that little area over there. You can see it glowing slightly. Thank you. Large creature. We have to dodge this monstrosity. Originally, I thought the bell in the center was a face. As you can see, it does almost 200 damage, or 100 damage even. This poor beetle guard is suffering greatly, falling off and killing itself. Surprised it's not dead yet. Maybe it can't die? Oh god, oh god. Alright, well we're going to make a run for it. Thank you, turret. As you can see... Oh! It does work. Alright. Never mind, I stand corrected. Good thing to test and retest these things. That is quite useful. So bustling fungus has now become one of, if not the most high priority common level item to acquire in terms of the engineer class, and its main method of functionality being the turrets. Alright, so we'll make a little trip around here now that we're rolling in dough. We'll grab some more items on our way over. Seems there's an obscene number of chests just everywhere today. We'll grab the soldier syringe. Oh, ATG missiles. Perfect. Another soldier syringe? Or... Huh, I'm not entirely sure what that is. Oh, that might have been the slug. Which is good for our character, not useful for our turrets. I like to play off the turrets quite heavily, that's why I keep bringing up what is good for them and what isn't. Oh wow, we got a rather large amount of crits from that. Quite lucky with that draw. But yes, it seems Brilliant Behemoth is as ridiculously useful as it was in the last game. No surprise there. But it seems it might have even grown in value now that we are in the third dimension, as it is even harder to hit things with the grenades. I actually believe, in my personal opinion, it might just be my relative lack of experience in this game, but I had much more success with the original title for Risk of Rain. Just in terms of surviving for normal amounts of time, I played a game... Oh, the backup. This calls in drones. 4 gunner drones that do quite a bit of damage. Now, let's see if this is... we might have to go over. Yes, we are going to have to go over. It looks like to get the teleporter. I am not entirely sure, now that I think about it, if I am lost or if I'm just absolutely incompetent, because I saw the particles. Oh, there it is. Okay. All is well. God is in his heaven, all is well in the world. Comment below if you know where that's from. But I'm not going to make an attempt for a multiplayer game unless this ends rather abruptly. I'll likely do separate multiplayer guides just because the balancing and how that all works is so significantly different. Alright, let us go to the teleporter. Alright, let's get these down. I probably should have set them up a little earlier. It's not good placement, but it's more than adequate for this boss, seeing as this is arguably the easiest boss in the game. But it seems she's brought some of her friends, and some rather nasty ones at that. As you can see, the turrets heal super rapidly. Super duper rapidly. And they do have shields, as you can see on the top left, where their health bars are indicated. We are having a large degree of success in this enclosed area, which should be the case as everything can be reached and seen by the turrets due to their centralized location. Although the placement of them was not ideal, I would have liked to get one maybe on top of this rock and one on top of that rock, just to make it almost impossible for some of the higher damage melee-based classes to get up to them. But it seems we'll survive. It seems we will remain. So we'll do a quick run over in this direction. Just go look at this shrine. I do believe this is a health shrine. Yep. Take the money. We don't have any need for health. We've survived everything else. And we have cleared this map out for the most part, so it does seem we will have to just go straight through the teleporter. There are no more items to get. We have $1,400, but we have nothing else to gain. Pick up a little bit extra. Why not? Why not? A little bit of extra money can't hurt, right? No one's gonna object to a little bit of extra money. And you can just hold down the placement button. There's the shield. I haven't really used the shield too much yet because I haven't had to. I've been quite lucky with the boss spawns, but I'm sure after such gracious item drops and merciful spawn cycles for the bosses, it's very highly likely that we'll be getting either the imp or the magma worm for this level. Those are the most common that I've encountered, and both of them are not enjoyable to fight because the imp will teleport directly on top of your turrets and do his massive ultra mega ground pound attack, which will do an extreme amount of damage to your turrets and will likely kill your turret, at least one of your turrets every single time it teleports. Because for some reason, whoever designed the AI for that decided that the best course of action was to give it maximum priority on turrets, which I suppose makes the most sense because they're doing much more damage than I am. And I can move and dodge that attack, but it is still quite frustrating. I cannot deny that. It is very, very frustrating. As we get another silver syringe here, we are just getting nothing but good drops today. Nothing but the best. We did have that slight blemish of the key, but everything else we've gotten is quite useful. We do have the extra magazine. We just get absolutely see how, now look at how quickly the turret heals. Just because it's sitting still, it heals in chunks of 22, which is absolutely fantastic. But as you can see, the turret is not shooting at that at all. It's clearly within range. It just has decided that that is above its pay grade and it has no interest. And there is the turret, rather the teleport. I'm forgetting how to speak English today. That seems to be the common thread with all my videos. A lot of ineffective English. We'll go check this real quickly. I suppose that is the best course of action. And we will place down a turret on top of this, right on the edge, and we will put the other one right there on the edge. Oh my. As we get multiple fire elite wisps, not enjoyable in the slightest, but the turrets will take care of it, and we will start the teleporter. Oh, and we are lucky. We'll just toss all of our mines down here. This thing does have a very high damage attack. Ooh, and it seems we will call in the backup. Hopefully keep ourselves alive. And we will use the slug for that purpose as well. The strike drones are doing extremely high damage. As you can see, this is basically how you play the engineer class. You run around trying not to die and let all your constructs do the work. I highly recommend drones. Picking up drones for this class is quite useful. The backup does have an extremely long recharge time, but that is kind of to be expected with how effective it is. Will-o-wisp, always good. But as you can see, the turrets are just clearing house, and that tends to be the main theme for the early game kind of matches. It's relatively consistently good. But yeah, that tends to be it. We're kind of working our way through here. I'm going to do a quick lap just because after this we are on very hard, sitting at a little over 24 minutes. So we have charged the teleporter. Now I suppose we can do a run through with our almost $1,600 and just open everything that we can get our hands on. Get another chrono bauble. Not bad, not bad. Some items are universally alright. Some are universally bad. But such things as the red whip are universally good. As you can see how fast I'm moving through here. It's saving me time. Anything that saves you time, i.e. movement speed increasers, cooldown decreasers, and the like, are always useful. Just as a rule. they make the game... Oh, and we get fireworks. I despise fireworks with every fiber of my being. I find that item to be so unbelievably useless. We get a rose buckler. Not terrible. Not particularly good for this class, but not terrible. As we get flashbangs, something that I always have a problem with, and I have no need for the primordial cube. The backup will do just fine. And we will retreat to our to our teleporter. That message I just got was from my friend who I have been playing with recently. He's the one who I used to play the original title with all the time, and we bought this game as a pair, or rather I bought it and gifted him the second copy, and he accepted the second copy. And we have spawned in the middle of nowhere. We will fight this boss, just so I can demonstrate how quickly this thing will murder my turrets. As you can see, that's the attack. Now it's right on top of one of our turrets. And it's not doing that much damage because it was on the fringe of that attack, which is quite fortunate for us. Whoa, alright. I don't know. Oh, it's not even dead. Interesting. We're gonna use our turrets to heal. But as you can see, yes, the imp in this run isn't doing too well just due to the fact that we have so many super powered items. But for everything else, were this a normal run, were we not abusing our luck a little bit here? And that would have been a quite difficult fight. Have a bell. I do not like when these things start flying up so high. It makes it nearly impossible to hit them. Nearly. And we will make a quick jump down here to open up this massive chest. And we will get ukulele. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And things are likely to keep spawning here. These crabs are kind of the hard counter to the engineer class, as they can fire at you indirectly. And they have high armor values, and they do... Let's see what this is. Oh, not interested. No thank you. Got better items. Now, I have never actually opened one of these, so I'm going to see if I can save up and open one of those. I'm likely to die during this stage, just due to my lack of practice with this class recently. I've been playing so much of the Artificer that it's been difficult to go back to anything. I do plan on making a guide to... what class would be best to do? I'll likely make a very basic commando guide next. The commando is quite easy to figure out. It's not all that highbrow kind of tactical thinking as might be necessary with certain classes, but it is extremely powerful, and it benefits the most from proximity items, from attack speed-based items. Multi has the highest rate of attack in the game, but as is discussed in the latest dev blog as of April 2nd? Or April 3rd. I'm not entirely sure what day of the week it is. I apologize. It's been a rather stressful day, and I haven't been paying attention to much, so... But, as you can see, I'm trying to find where those crabs are. Here's one of them. And getting rid of those is a very, very high priority kind of thing for the engineer. as you can see. Oh, and getting rid of fire elites is just as high priority. I'm really kind of at a loss for words with how much of a change this brilliant behemoth has made for these items, for this class in general. It's absolutely obscene. It's turned the grenade launcher from a hard-to-hit, low-damage weapon to an easy-to-hit, high-burst damage weapon, which is extremely, extremely nice. But this, my friends, is the single hardest boss to kill as the engineer class. As you can see, we have already died! Oh my lord. But that is the end of the run. We got quite a bit of weapons, quite a few weapons. Didn't do that much damage, actually, likely because our turrets did most of the damage. That is unfortunate, but in spite of that somewhat surprising end, and disappointing end, might I add, we're going to have to end the video here. I do hope you enjoyed the guide. I hope you find the information useful. I'll likely make an updated series when this game fully releases. If anything significant has changed, that is. And I have been the Irish Kaiser, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you will subscribe and like the video. Comment below what you enjoyed, what you did not, what you'd like to see, what you would like to avoid, like me to avoid. And I will bid you good night.